Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to our Vida podcast, where we're going to help educate military veterans and their spouses on opportunities in Web3. Our plan is to host a series of industry leaders, many of whom are veterans or spouses themselves, so we can learn about their journey down the crypto rabbit hole while understanding opportunities for transitioning veterans into space. My name is Chris Perkins. I'm a combat Marine veteran who spent 15 years on Wall Street before transitioning into crypto myself. And before we begin, I wanted to thank our sponsor, Luca, who have dedicated their time and resources to make this podcast possible. Today, for episode 9, we'll be speaking with Josh Emison, veteran and CEO and co-founder of Sansbank. Welcome, Josh.
Hey, thanks, Chris. It's good to be here.
Hey, Josh, as we begin, would love to know about your background and your experience in the military.
Yeah, sure thing. So I am a Naval Academy grad, decided to go the Marine Corps option, met a lot of really great Marine Corps officers at the Academy. That's what swayed me out of the Navy. And then I was a infantry officer for 5 years. So I did two non-combat deployments in 1-8. A lot of fun. Really enjoyed my time in Spain, and then especially in Okinawa, a lot of scuba diving. And then spent 13 months in Jordan working out of the embassy, which was also just amazing. Got to spend a lot of time with the locals and their military and government, and it was really, really fun.
Oh, that's awesome. I know someone who went to the Naval Academy, became a Marine. So, when you think about your service, were there any specific moments or, experiences that you had that shaped, the way you look at life and shaped your vision going forward?
Yeah. I would say one of the most pivotal experiences was probably at the Academy, where there's the Stockdale Center for Leadership, and just learning about James Stockdale and his experiences in Vietnam, and then reading his Stockdale and Stoicism papers, I think really shaped my outlook and how I just kind of like how I faced life in general, right? That whole principle of you can control what you can control, and what you can't, you shouldn't really go crazy about. And I think, whenever things get rough, it's not Hanoi, right? That's always kind of what it goes back to. And if Stockdale could maintain his poise and his leadership in Hanoi, then I can overcome whatever I'm facing.
Yeah. For those of you who haven't read the book or know the story, James Stockdale was a legend. He was a naval aviator that shot down POW, and just his acts of heroism. I think he got the Medal of Honor for his heroism, right, Josh?
He did, yeah.
But absolute legend. If you ever get a chance, read about what he did in Vietnam. Okay, so you did 2 pumps. You served for how long? 5 years?
5 years, yep.
Yeah, and then you decided to transition. And what went through your mind? And can you walk us through your transition?
Yeah, the transition was kind of wild. So I wanted to teach. I wanted to be in education, and the goal was eventually, I thought, I'd go on to education policy, but I wanted to spend a couple years in the classroom, right? So before I was essentially, right, before I get to the regimental command level, I wanted to be a platoon commander, all right? But in education, that's kind of how I was thinking about it. So I found a program where I would teach in Florida, in Miami, which is, I am from Florida. And as I was getting close to getting out, I realized that this was probably the only time in my life I'd be able to fulfill a lifelong dream of going to China and learning Kung Fu from a Kung Fu master. I watched way too many Jackie Chan movies. So I called up the teaching program, and I was like, hey, I'm going to delay this for a year, right? It's good for me. It's probably good for the kids. I relax a little bit. So that's what I did. I spent 6 months learning Mandarin Kung Fu. I came back to the States. That's when the pandemic started. I was going to keep traveling, but I stopped. I started a business selling franchises. I was like a franchise consultant because I was stuck at home and I couldn't travel anymore. I taught for like a semester, but that franchise business was doing so well, I decided I'd rather just do that full time. Yes, that was basically the transition. I'm not going to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but it was the thinking I want to teach, taking that 6 months in China, and then just kind of luckily finding myself as a business owner.
As a Kung Fu master. Awesome. Now the franchise job that you did, I think a lot of veterans, they have specific veteran programs around franchisees. Did you do it through the VA and any special program there?
I didn't. So what I was looking for something that was like a business opportunity, business in a box, or a franchise that I could do, but it was more mobile because I knew I was going to move to Miami for teaching. At the time I was living somewhere else. And so I wanted to have that flexibility, right? So I worked with a franchise consultant and we went through a couple options and nothing really seemed to fit. And then he was just like, oh, well, you could just do this because this is very minimal to travel, minimal to you set your own schedule kind of thing. But yeah, it is great for veterans. And I would recommend any veteran to look at franchising.
Awesome. And so then how did you get into crypto?
Yeah. During that process, I was able to basically, I used a no-code CRM/marketing platform to like automate most of my work. And that gave me a bunch of extra time. And that was in probably mid to late 2000. So that's when everything was really the last, middle of the bull market in crypto. So I got super into it, right? I was watching all these things happen. I had a roommate back at the academy who was into Bitcoin, and I was like, okay, I got to figure it out. I have time now. I got to figure it out. Start taking courses online, watching videos, reading articles, and it just became super interesting to me. And I was also at that time getting into real estate as well because I was trying to figure out ways to grow my wealth, right? And I saw crypto. I know real estate's historically a good way to do it. So that's how I was kind of spending all my extra time.
Got it. So you go down the rabbit hole, you're running the franchise business, but you'd automated your way into some free time, and you just use that to study. As you stated earlier, you're controlling what you could control. So tell us about the launch of Sansbank. How did that come about? Was there an epiphany that you had? And tell us about your journey as a founder.
So the kind of the epiphany. Like I said, I was getting into real estate at the same time, and I didn't want to get to a point where real estate was dominating. I liked what I was doing with franchising. And so I was looking at these things called syndications. So for people who don't know, that's where people will come together and they'll pool their capital, and then they'll have somebody else who leads the investment. And they're the ones who take all of that money and invest in real estate. It just kind of sends you checks in the mail. But to do that, for almost all the ones I was looking at, I had to be accredited, which I wasn't. Right. So over 200 to 300K per year or $1 million net worth. And so that really bothered me that these really reliable investments were out of reach, but I had friends like losing all their money in options trading on Robinhood. Right. So it was just like crazy. But I saw that blockchain is like the perfect way to manage fractionalized real estate, right? Which is essentially what a syndication is. So I had this idea. I didn't really know what to do with it until I met my co-founders. Really kind of luckily, we met through somebody else, just totally luck. And I learned more about their background. They've started tech companies before, and I kind of pitched them this idea and they loved it. So what Sansbank is, right, is solving that problem for people who can't get into real estate. And we do it we originate our own loans. We pool those loans together, and then we fractionalize down to $100 shares for people to invest in those pools of loans, right? So it's kind of like a syndication, but for loans. So that way people with just $100 can act as a lender and get yield every single month. So that was the epiphany, and that's how it led to what Sansbank is.
Great. Maybe you can unpack that a little bit further. And so, the business model, you're looking at fractionalizing real estate, and people can invest and achieve a yield. For the listeners, can you just maybe unpack that business model a little bit further? And where are you in the development and the implementation?
Yeah, for sure. So they can think of it as on two sides, right? So if you're a property owner and you came to Sansbank, so what we do is we look for multifamily property owners who currently have a net cash flow, right? So they already own the building. And it's going to go to all types of asset classes in the future. But right now we're looking at just multifamily property owners with net cash flow. And then we pull in economic data and we say, okay, right now you're making $10,000 a month. We think in 10 years, you're totally over the whole 10 years, you're going to make $1 million, let's say, right? And we'll give you a loan based off of your future net cash flow, right? Which is much different than most people do it off equity. They look at your credit score and they look at your income that has nothing to do with the property. They look at all this other stuff that really has nothing to do with the property, right? And you're getting a loan against the property. So we thought that was kind of crazy, right? And that's also like kind of we learned from Aave and all these other lenders where they just look at the collateral and they don't look at anything else, right? On the crypto side, and we're like, well, like we should do that for real estate. Anyway, so we take those loans, right? They're very reliable. They're for cash flowing properties already, and we pool them together, right? So instead of having people invest in one loan, they're invested in these giant pools of loans. So that way they're diversified amongst the loans, right? And we take those pools and we just cut them up into $100 shares. So if you were a regular person who wanted to invest in something backed by real estate at $100 per share, you could come in and invest. And then what you're doing is you're lending that money to those property owners. So they're going to be paying you back principal and interest every single month. So you're getting passive income on a monthly basis.
Awesome. And like, what kind of yields do people generate?
Yeah, we're looking at lending at 8 to 12%. So that's IRR, right? If they as long as they compound their yields, that's kind of what they'll get annually. Because they're lenders, right? So it's principal and interest back every single month.
So let's talk about your decision to become a founder, right? You decided not to go work for the man or the woman, but instead you went for it and you became a founder. What's it like being a founder? What's your day-to-day? Do you regret it? Are you thrilled about it? Because look, a lot of veterans that are listening are thinking about their transition. And I know a lot of them are saying, gosh, do I go work for a company or do I become a founder? Tell us about your route, what it's like, and do you recommend it?
It's very different than what I thought, right? I think that's kind of important for people to know actually what they're going to be doing, right? And it's basically just a bunch of work. It's all the little details that you don't think about, right? That makes things happen. And like we knew in the military, right? Something sounds easy. Hey, go load up that plane. Something as simple as that. Well, we have to know exactly what's going in there. We have to know all the serial numbers. We have to make sure it's going in the right order, right? So there's a bunch of stuff to everything. So it's just a lot of work, but you are deciding what the work is. So like day to day, right now I'm raising capital, right? So I'm deciding what events do I go to? Who am I reaching out to on LinkedIn? What calls am I taking or not taking? What what programs am I applying to or not applying to? And then syncing up with my co-founders to make sure that they're right. So we have the people who are actually building things. So I'm learning day to day, hey, how's the build going? What's the expectation? What are the timelines? Things like that, right? So it's organizational skills and just work at the end of the day. So would I recommend it? Yeah, I'd recommend it to people who know what they're getting into, right? So this is you don't know if you're getting paid, right? You don't know if it's going to work, and you're working probably harder than if you had a job, right? I hear buddies get out and they're working maybe 40, 50 hours, making a nice salary, and then in the afternoons they do whatever they want, right? Go hang out with their family, or they play sports, or they whatever. So if that's more what you want, that's more aligned, no harm, no foul, like that's what you should go do. But if you have some vision, you have something that you really want to bring into this world, and you're willing to work for it, and you're willing to take the risk that maybe it won't work, right? Then that is for you, right? I don't have a family, so it's easier for me to take that risk. I really want people to have access to this, right? I grew up in places without a lot of financial literacy. So my goal is to be able to go back home and tell my friends, hey, download Sansbank, right? This is good for you. And I think that's super powerful. And that's something I really want to do. That's kind of what drives me through the day to day.
It sounds like your experience in the Marine Corps really prepared you for this journey. Would you agree?
I think to an extent, I think to the soft skills of understanding that it's not sexy, right? Like people see Marines in the TV shows and they're like, oh man, that's cool. And we both know that's not what day-to-day looks like, right? It's a lot of attention to detail. It's a lot of the little things. I think in that way it did prepare me a lot. But on the other hand, you always know what your goal is, right? at least at the level I was at, right, there was always a battalion commander or a company commander saying, hey, this is what we're working towards, go and do it. But for us, it's we're deciding what our goal is. We're deciding what the end state should look like. And I think that can be difficult for some people.
So let's pivot to crypto a little bit. How, for the transitioning veterans listening, how should they get up to speed? I would say on crypto generally, but then on the opportunities in this space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in crypto and generally, I would say there's tons of stuff online. There's a MOOC, a massively online open source course from, I think, a university in Corsica. That's the one I took. It was great for actually learning how it works. And then from there, I would say find what's interesting to you, because you can't learn it all. It's impossible, right? I've gotten to the point where I know I can't learn all parts of crypto. And when people ask me about like NFTs, I'm like, I don't know. You could be asking, I know the technology, but I don't know how to, go and find a cool NFT drop. So find what's interesting to you, right? For me, it's how does it interact with the real world? There's finance. There's, like I said, NFTs, whether it's art or music. There's just coins. There's protocols. There's the programming side. There's the marketing side. So figure out what you like and what's interesting, and then attack that first. And then you can spread out from there. But you don't need to know everything in crypto, right? Just do the things that are important, that you think are interesting.
Yeah, great points. What about programming? Do you think that in order to get into this space, you have to be, technical, computer science background, or, is that not necessary?
No, I don't think that's necessary at all. I don't have that type of background. You're always going to be, if you're building something, you're going to be reliant on people who do have that background, right? But to understand it and to apply it, I don't think you need it at all. I think it's going to get to a point where a little bit of math is important, whether it's, even accounting, right, which is just like Excel spreadsheets. But if you're doing something in crypto, it's very numbers based, so you need to at least have a little bit of it, right? Not too much, but a little bit. And then you could just be a marketer for it or something like that.
Yeah, so you can take out your crayons if you're a Marine and get to work, right?
Yeah, if I can figure it out, anybody can. That's basically what it comes down to. If some grunt can figure it out, anybody can.
Awesome. So you had your company Sansbank is working on real estate application within Web3. Are there any other verticals that you think across Web3 that are exciting?
Yes, I do. Besides real world assets. So just to give it like an example of why I chose this and why it's super exciting, right? The most millionaires in the world the industry that produced the most millionaires is real estate. Globally, real estate is a $360 trillion asset class, right? It's unbelievable how big real estate is. So I think being in the tokenized real estate space is just massive. It's very exciting to me. But outside of that, I would also think that the ability for borderless payments, so like the ability to transact day to day, is going to become very powerful, right? Whether it's you go to the store and it's already starting to happen, but it's going to become more in, I think, other countries, right? And whether it's in USD or whether it's in or USDC or whatever, or it's in some sort of actual crypto. My brother-in-law is actually from Iraq, right? And so like remittances are like a big part of his life and figuring out how is he going to get money back to his family. And there is no good answer right now. And I think just solving that one problem is really exciting and is going to go a long way of helping a lot of people, in this world.
Awesome. I really appreciate your thoughts. You talked a little bit about this for someone trying to break into the space. What would you recommend that they do?
I would recommend it's two things, right? It's like two prongs. You have to learn about it. So just go start watching videos, not people shilling you, like telling you what the best coin to buy is, like actually learning about it, and then go and use it, right? Put some $100 in your MetaMask, download MetaMask first, and then go and toy around with the different protocols and just get a feel for it. I think that's the most important thing, right? It's like in the Marines, or it's like in the military. You have to do your learning and your book stuff, and then you got to go out in the field and you have to actually practice. Otherwise, you're never going to be good at it. So it's both those things.
Yeah, and the field in this case is setting up that MetaMask account and then playing around in DeFi, I guess. I couldn't agree more. You got to touch it. Josh, are you doing any hiring right now, or are you still in build phase?
Yeah, we're still building. But we are going to be hiring. So if there are people out there who are programmers, whether it's full stack or app developers or even a few blockchain developers, we need you. If sales, especially in like the real estate / blockchain space, is exciting, we're going to need salespeople. We're going to need marketers. So send us, if you're interested, you like what we're doing, send us your information. We can't get you a job tomorrow, but we are going to have to raise we're going to have to hire in the next 4 to 6 months. So I'd love to work with other veterans. It'd be great.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Now, are those jobs located in a particular area, or do you operate remotely?
Yeah, it's all remote. So we wouldn't ask them to move. We would just ask them to do the work.
There you go. Last question: how could people connect with you?
Yeah, so I'd love to hear from people, whether it's their thoughts or about jobs or whatever, or just questions on how to get into the space. You can find me on Twitter, Josh Emison. It's just my name. LinkedIn, same thing, Josh Emison. Or you can email me, josh@sansbank.io.
Awesome. Josh, thank you so much for today's discussion. Incredibly informative stuff. We're really lucky to have a prominent veteran like you operating in the space. And again, I also wanted to thank our sponsor, Luca, for doing what you do, and we're deeply appreciative of your support. For those interested in learning more about Vida, please connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter. Please hit me on Twitter at PerkinsCR97. Thank you so much, everyone. See you next time.